So all these elements we were aware of, but we also thought that maybe at any moment people can change. You know that many of our ancestors who were slaves in Americas, they were released not by their fight, but even by their former masters. When you take the concentration camps in Germany, the doors were open at a certain moment, not by the prisoners themselves, but by those who were in charge of keeping them prisoners. You see, so we thought that maybe all the pleading, all the arguments we brought out could touch their heart, and finally they will play a fair game for this election. But we were disappointed that it was not the case.
That is one of the points I wanted us to look at, because the law, that is Article 13 of the law of the law organizing the Constitutional Council, says that decisions are taken by simple majority of the councillors present. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast with me, Ngalim Bernard, your host. Today, we're discussing the decision from the Constitutional Council of Cameroon that invalidated the candidature of Professor Maurice Kamto, who is the leading opposition candidate in Cameroon. And we are here to discuss with Professor Moise Timcheng, who is part of the legal team that has been accompanying Professor Maurice Kamto all along. And he's going to give us the first impressions that he had at the Constitutional Council, if he thinks that the decision actually reflected the position of the law, the atmosphere within the professor's team, and what the professor and his parties thinking about the next elections, that they're going to support one candidate. And from there, he's going to give us his personal impressions from a political point of view also. But more so, we're going to look at what the law says and how the Constitutional Council should have acted according to his advocacy that he's been doing all this while. As I always say, these elections are very important because the president is 92 years old. He's been in power for 42 years, and he's running to succeed himself. And more importantly, the candidacy of the leading opposition candidate was hanging in the balance. And now the authorities have kicked that candidacy out of the balance, and he is not going to take part in the election as a candidate. So let's hear from Professor Moise Timcheng. You're welcome back to the Beyond Africa podcast, Professor Moise.
Thank you very much, Ben. I greet all our televiewers and all those who are going to watch this broadcast even after. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being faithful to the Beyond Africa podcast. I would like you all to go to Professor Moise Timcheng's YouTube page. Prof does excellent legal analysis. He does excellent legal analysis out of electoral issues, anything about the law. He actually breaks them down for our simple understanding. So, Prof, we are talking about the Constitutional Council of Cameroon. What are your first impressions after the Constitutional Council rejected the candidature of Professor Maurice Kamto, thereby confirming the rejection by the Electoral Council of Elecam?
Yes, when you visit the law organizing the functioning of the Constitutional Council, you discover that this institution is supposed to be independent. That is, it should build its decision according to the constitutions, the law, and the general principles of law. But what we saw, what we witnessed in Yaoundé on Monday was a great shame. The Constitutional Council completely disowned the idea we could have of it as an independent jurisdiction, because what appears in the eyes of everyone was that in a similar conditions, the attitude of the council was not the same. You know, Prof. Maurice Kamto's candidacy was rejected on the ground that the Manidem, which was the political party that presented him, had invested two candidates. And you see, according to the Constitutional Council position, it stated that whenever this type of situation occurs, the Constitutional Council cannot go in the constitution of political parties in order to find which candidacy is the most legitimate. So it rejected the case of Manidem, the case of MPAS. There were some other parties, but it accepted to differentiate between the case of Paul Biya and Tele Onana, and also between the case of Akerimuna and the other candidate, who were all presented by the political party universe.
For the case of Paul Biya, Elecam said Leon Tele Onana did not present a letter of investiture by the party, so there could not be a question of double investiture for CPDM.
It appeared not to be true, because for the case, for example, of some other parties, you see, they considered only the declaration of the candidate, saying that I am presenting myself as the candidate of this party. So they just took that as granted and just decided to dismiss all the candidates. So the Constitutional Council didn't do the same for the CPDM nor for the Universe Party. You see, for similar situations, the attitude was not the same, showing that the Constitutional Council is another room of CPDM.
But Prof,
that appeared clearly, and you can imagine that for the case of Maurice Kamto, the rejection of the case of Mr. Kamto was based on the fact that the Minister of Territorial Administration wrote a letter on the recently to the Constitutional Council, indicating that since 2021, Mr. Jodoni Ebga is the president of Manidem, without any other ground, neither the resolutions of the Congress nor a court decision. You see, meaning that they just wanted something to disqualify Prof. Maurice Kamto's candidacy of CPDM.
Were you surprised by this decision of the Constitutional Council? Did they surprise you at all?
No, I was not surprised, because during the preparation of this presidential election, there was a debate on this imposed mandate, on this null imposed mandate, where I was one of the main animators of this debate, and I was pleading that Professor Kamto has at his disposal the three options. He can present himself as independent candidate, he can be presented by the MSA, or he can also be presented by any legalized party who had political representatives, who has les élus, how do we say les élus in English?
Elected representatives.
Who has, yes, elected representatives since 2020. And during this debate, the position of CPDM and all the supporters was that the easiest way for Professor Kamto to present himself was to hire a party who has elected representatives since the municipal and legislative elections in 2020. And Professor Kamto decided to opt for that way. It means that it went now to be presented by Manidem, following even the advice that was given by the supporters of CPDM. But the same day, the presentation of Professor Kamto was revealed as to be made by Manidem, two ministers started attacking his candidacy. Minister Momo started saying that the legalization of his signature at the police was not correct, saying that police is not the competent authority to legalize, to authentify a signature, which is in contradiction, in pure contradiction with the traditional mission of police. Because whenever there's any discussion about the authenticity or the reality of a signature, it is the police to determine whether the signature is fair or is false. You see, the minister delegate in charge of justice, fragilizing one of the auxiliary administration who helps justice to reach the truth. So he started attacking it, which was not founded because legally it was a false statement. You had the coming out of the ministry of the Minister of Labor and
Social Security,
Minister Gregor, who said that Mr. Kamto has resigned from MRC, but his resignation could not take place before the acknowledgement of his resignation by the Minat, which was contrary to the provisions of law, because all this modality is provided to be done by the party in order to inform the administration of the modification that has occurred.
Yes, Prof. The Electoral Council of Elecam did not take these arguments by Jean de Dieu Momo and Gregoire Owona into consideration. The Constitutional Council simply said there are 2 investitures from Manidem, and therefore none of them is going to be admitted.
Yes.
So the other arguments were not before the Constitutional Council.
Personally, I reacted to this coming out of these 2 ministers because I explained, I proved that all these statements were false because they were not in accordance with the provisions of law. Because you cannot deny the police the competency to authentify any signature. It cannot stand.
But it doesn't appear to me that these statements were considered by Elecam, because Elecam had only one reason: double investiture. So the political statements by the politicians along the sides did not influence Elecam's decision.
No, but you know this coming out of the minister was made before Elecam examined the files.
Yeah, but they're not part of Elecam.
Yes, I say no. It was done before the decision of Elecam. Elecam decided long after. So because the coming out of the ministers was done the same day, the day Mr. Kamto declared he deposited his candidacy with Elecam, the same day. You know that the closure of the presentation of candidacy was on Monday, and the disclosure of the presentation of Prof. Kamto by Manidem was done the Thursday before that Monday. It means 4 days before the closure of the presentation of candidatures. So it was done 4 days before. And since these ministers they made their statement on Friday, and I reacted the same Friday, so they had the time to understand our grounds and to change the strategy. I think that Elecam changed the strategy because they discovered that the coming out of the ministers could not stand legally. So they went now to find another ground, which will lead the Constitutional Council just to say that he cannot go in the fundamental text of political parties to find who is the legitimate representative. So you see, it was an objective. The aim was to reach the disqualification of Professor Maurice Kamto by all means. You know that they brought out someone who politically was no more existing, because Mr. Yebga resigned from, was excluded from Manidem since 2018. And in the political scene of Cameroon, no one has seen Mr. Yebga appear again in any party. He was completely politically inactive. But they brought him out just to create the confusion in order to disqualify the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto, because they are afraid of the man. This is the man who has remained in the political scene since 2018 without being tired. And he has worked on Cameroonians to build their political conscience. And he was, for the CPDM, the real danger that was to be, by all means, he had to be disqualified. And so we are not surprised, because all these last 12 months, Mr. Kamto was on all the lips, when all lips.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We actually observed that all politicians, all TV panels, all news articles were talking only about Professor Kamto. And Professor Kamto
even when CRM was not represented, the debate was focused on either on Professor Kamto or on CRM.
Yes. So my worry now is, for the 12 months, it was evident that the focus was on Professor Kamto and his party. And did you nurse any hopes that the Constitutional Council and Elecam were going to have or say the law as the law is? Because from every indication, you do not trust these organizations.
But no, you know, we had some case law, some precedents. You know, in 2018, Cabral Libby, Akere Muna, and late Franklin Afangui, they opted for this modality, that is to be presented by a party, by another party. You see, so, and since it was also the option advised by the supporters of CPDM, but we thought that maybe they were of good faith and that they will admit after by his humility.
How could Professor Kamto and his team really think that the CPDM could be of good faith in giving them good advice when everything was written on the wall that the CPDM is somehow afraid of being challenged by Professor Kamto?
No, it was the easiest way, because to be presented as independent candidate is not easy. You know, among the 12,145 personalities who can back an independent candidate, most of them, about 90%, are all CPDM members, and so it will not be easy for an independent candidate to gather these 300 signatures. The second one was to be presented by CRM, but you know, in the media, in all the political outgoing of the Minister of Higher of Territorial Administration and all of the other people supporting CRM, they were categorical that if Professor Kamto was to be presented by CRM, his candidacy was to be rejected. And they ended by advising this option that if Mr. Kamto wants to compete for the presidential election, the easiest way, the simplest way for him was to hire a political party who had elected representatives since 2020. And so we did that in order to avoid any complication, because it came out from their mouth. And we thought that maybe, seeing that we were sufficiently humble to accept their proposition, maybe they will leave him.
Why are you giving the impression?
Very bad faith.
Why are you giving the impression that
if we did not
maybe
opt for that, what would be the option? Because we had only three options to present for the presidency, either independent, either by CRM or by a political party, and that was the option they themselves proposed. And if we did not opt for that, which other option could we have? Any other option will be more complicated for Professor Kamto. So we expected that maybe they will become political gentlemen and also accept that they will go and beat Professor Maurice Kamto during the election. But we didn't know that they were very, very bad faith, and that they have instrumentalized all the administration, even the courts.
Yes, I'm looking at the appointment clause of the Constitution. How members of the Constitutional Council are appointed. They are supposed to be 11, those serve a renewable term of 6 years, and they are to be appointed in the following order: 3, including the President of the Council, are to be appointed by the President. 3, by the President of the National Assembly after consultation with the Bureau. 3, by the President of the Senate after consultation with the Bureau. 2, by the Higher Judicial Council. And then former presidents are ex officio members by right. Okay.
Yes.
Did these appointments actually follow this procedure? And if they did not, was that not the first step to have challenged it at the time to ensure that they comply with the law?
Bon, during the consultations, the consultation is not made public, because after all, if you see in the law, it is said that all those who are proposed by this institution are all appointed by the head of state. So if you see now the decree appointing the member of political council, all the 11 are appointed in the same decree, and it is just only supposed that the 11 member was proposed by the institution that you have cited, but there is no evidence of the fact that the parliament or the senate or all the others propose these persons. What is constant is that all amongst the 11 members of the Constitutional Council, 9 of them are known officially as former members of CPDM. 9 of them. Only 2 of them, I think it is you have Mr. Nkui and Professor Aaron Logmo. I think those are the only 2 persons whose political affiliation is not very clear. But apart from them, all the others are CPDM militants. You see, so one cannot guarantee, even if those institutions propose those members, the result at the end is that most of them, about 80% of them, are all former militants of CPDM, and most of them have not even resigned, have not even formally resigned after their appointment. And you know that the president of the Constitutional Council himself took part in a meeting last year, a meeting which ended with a motion of support, calling to President Paul Biya to be candidate for the presidency. And the president of the Constitutional Council attended this meeting. He defended himself by saying that he went out when this motion was signed, but he has never I will say in French, il s'est jamais désolidarisé. That he has never rejected this motion as that he has never said that he has not approved this motion. He has just said that I was out, but he has made no declaration in the sense that he does not accept the term of this motion of support. You see, so all these elements prove that even this president, particularly of the Constitutional Council, we could not expect from him to take any decision who will be who will not be in favor of Mr. Biya, or who will be in favor of the opposition. It will complicate it. So all these elements we were aware of, but we also thought that maybe at any moment people can change. You know that many of our ancestors who were slaves in Americas, they were released not by their fight, but even by their former masters. When you take the concentration camps in Germany, the doors were opened at a certain moment, not by the prisoners themselves, but by those who were in charge of keeping them prisoners. You see, so we thought that maybe all the pleading, all the arguments we brought out could touch their heart, and finally they will play a fair game for this election. But we're disappointed that it was not the case.
That is one of the points I wanted us to look at, because the law, that is Article 13 of the law of the law organizing the Constitutional Council, says that decisions are taken by simple majority of the councillors present.
Yes.
So, Professor Maurice Kamto has been there about 5 times over the last 7 years, and recently he's been there 3 times on Article 80 of the Constitution. The language of Article 80 is very clear. Have all the decisions been unanimous, or do you have any of the councillors at the Constitutional Council who have dissented from the majority view?
Yes, what is surprising is that all these decisions rendered by the Constitutional Council are always rendered according to their terms by unanimous by unanimity. You see, it means that despite the fact that we have like Professor Nkui, who is from SDF, or this Professor Aaron Logmo, who is a university professor, all the decisions have always been rendered in a unanimity. So it means that we think they are all playing the games. We have been told that they receive a lot of money during electoral periods to play this bad job. But they have become a danger for our country, because the way they have acted in order to disqualify some of the candidates, really we think that when it would appear that there is no way to expect anything from law nor justice, I think the only way will be the revolution. The people will have the people who have no other option than to take back their power by all means. And when we talk of all means, we are talking of Section 20. We think of Section 20, Sub 2 of the African Charter of Human Rights of People and Human Charter African de Droits de l'Homme, African Charter of Human Rights and
of Human and People Rights.
Yes, Human and People Rights, which provides at its Section 20 Sub 2 the right for people to fight for their liberation. People who are oppressed can fight oppression they are facing. So I think if it becomes the last solution, I think we will regret to reach that point. But
I want us to make some clarity here. I want us to make some clarity here. Fighting against oppression and fighting for freedom, are you insinuating any form of an armed conflict or any form of an insurrection against the state?
No, the provisions of the African Charter is that the fight against oppression or freedom will be done with the means approved by the international community. It means that the means is not to take weapons nor arms. It is generally peaceful manifestation. And we think that despite the power of an army, when the people is upright, I think there is no army that can challenge it. So according to the provisions of this charter, the fight should be done by the means accepted by the international community. And I think when it refers to these means, I think it is generally peaceful manifestation. Peaceful manifestation. But if now the reaction of the army is to kill people, I think it gives the right to the people to enter in what we call legitimate defense. Okay?
I am a little bit concerned with this development at this point because the MLC argues that their mantra is changed by the ballot box and only by the ballot box. Yes. And the MLC has believed and worked with the state institutions and state procedures throughout the last 7 years to get Professor Maurice Kamto into power. Now, using those same state institutions and state laws, why would you feel despondent at this point? Meanwhile, the MLC believes in the power of the ballot box. I think, isn't it an opportunity for the MLC to work hard towards the next elections?
No, for now, the disqualification of Professor Maurice Kamto has not led MLC to call for any peaceful revolution. No, it's not yet time. Because we still believe that Professor Kamto remains a masterpiece for the coming election, because according to the recent polls, it is said that Professor Kamto would gather about 58% of the electorate around his candidacy, meaning that he has the support of the CRM militants. He has the support of the members, political parties, and civil society, making the RPC, and with the presentation by Manidem, it has also gathered around his candidacy all those militant and sympathizers of Manidem, and all those who believe in the patriotic nationalism of Cameroon carried by UPC. Because Manidem claims to be the real heir of the national patriotism of Cameroon. So, by the presentation of Professor Kamto by Manidem has made the polls to estimate his potential to 58%. So, even being disqualified, I think that there will be no president in Cameroon in October without the implication of Professor Maurice Kamto. So it means that the way to dismiss CPDM by the ballot box is not yet closed. We still believe that if Professor Kamto succeeds in supporting a particular candidate, we still believe that the victory of the people can still occur without any particular revolution. Because
Prof. Yes. We started this conversation by looking at the Constitutional Council, looking at the Elecam, and you clearly demonstrated why Elecam and the Constitutional Council did not apply the law. Why do you suddenly think that on that 2 weeks after October 12th, they are going to respect the victor of the elections?
No, because I know the means that MRC has mobilized for the presidential election. I think the first challenge was to be accepted as candidate. Now we have failed that. But the second challenge is to master the electoral process itself. We think that nowadays, you know, the Director General of Elecam has recognized on the CRTV that any political party and any media can compile the results from the electoral bureau and publish the tendencies. Formally, it was not possible because it was taught to Cameroonians that only Elecam and the Constitutional Council have the monopoly in publishing the tendencies. But because Section 113 Electoral Code, it is clearly indicated that the results of any electoral poll is published officially at the end of the process. You see,
I love that.
So,
I love that optimism, but at the same time, Professor Maurice Kamto has been at the Constitutional Council 2 times, asking the Constitutional Council to order Elecam to publish the national voters' roll, and the Constitutional Council denied jurisdiction over that. Now, who knows how many polling stations exist in Cameroon?
Is that the national electoral list and the polling stations will be known before the day of the elections. That is sure.
You are giving me the vibes that you trust the electoral system to provide to you what they have refused to provide to you, even in court.
No, we don't think that they will push their arrogance up to that point, because we believe that the list of voters and the list of polling stations will be known before. It is true that
you did not believe that they would push anything beyond the 3 ways of Professor Kamto presenting his candidature, and you went for the least risky, and at the end of the day it was still pushed out. You still believing in good faith?
No, we must remain optimistic up to the point where you have the evidence that there is no more hope for any peaceful change. We must explore all the ways in order to reach an alternance without any violence. If now it appears that even our hope is deceived, then there will be no other option than to start a popular revolution. There will be no hope. But as intellectual, as a responsible political actor, we cannot call for a revolution before we have ended all the means to reach a peaceful transition in our country. So I think we must keep hoping that Elecam may do a normal work for a transition without any violence, without any blood, without any death. But if at the end our optimism is completely disappointed, there will be no other way. And I think if now even the international community will be our supporters, because they will know that we have tried all the possible means to avoid this revolution. But it is a right of the people. When there is no justice, when there is no law, the option is to fight against oppression. And when we talk of oppression, it is the denial of all the rights that the people can claim. And this right is not just is consecrated in Section 20, sub 2 of the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. But we have to end all the peaceful means before reaching that point. And if you are called upon to reach that point, it will be against our will, because the motto of CRM and most of the Cameroonian population is to reach a transition without any violence, without any bloodshed.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us now, you're watching the Beyond Africa podcast with me, your host, Ngalim Bernard, and my guest, Professor Moise Timcheng. We are taking his temperature on the Constitutional Council's denial of Professor Maurice Kamto's eligibility to contest at the 2025 presidential elections in Cameroon. Stay tuned as we continue this interesting conversation. The explanation you're giving sounds like there is a possibility of Cameroonians losing hope. And when Cameroonians lose hope, you're thinking about exploring avenues where they would go beyond the government institutions as they exist at the moment. But the Constitution gives the sovereignty of the country to the citizens, and the citizens delegate that sovereignty to government and government institutions. So why do you think that citizens at some point should go beyond that delegation that they have delegated to the government and government institutions?
No, when you are a minister or the head of state, you are the word minister means the servitor, means the worker. So when you benefit from the people's mandate, you are at their service. You are the service of the people. And when you stop serving the people, it means that you are no more fulfilling your mandate. And the people now has the right to take back the mandate it has given you. So the word minister means the server, and the server is cannot become the master of the one who is employing him, because the minister, the president of the state are all servers of the people. Because according to Section 2 of our Constitution, it is the people who is the owner of the national sovereignty, and it is the people who delegate it to those who represent him. So if you can no more serve the will of the people, it means you are no more in your normal position, and the people has the right to take back the power it has given you. So it is normally their right, okay, according to Section 2 of our Constitution. So it is not normal in a republic that the president start behaving like a monarch. It is not normal. When he starts behaving like a monarch, he's no more in his place, and the people has the right to take him down.
Before we dive into that, I'm looking at the communique that Anissa Ekane signed as the president of Manidem. He says in that communique that Manidem will consult with its candidate, Professor Maurice Kamto and APC, before making before taking a position in relation to that decision from the Constitutional Council. And at this point, there is no decision yet. The professor is quiet. He has not made any statement. Is his silence not putting his militants in doubt because they don't know where he stands?
No, I think he has to. He must not take a very light decision, because the situation is such that he should not react in a hurry. He must take sufficient time. He must meditate, and he must also consult some people, because despite the fact that he's the leader, it doesn't mean that he has all the knowledge. Okay, he's just a human being, and he can also take bad decisions. I think he needs some time. But meanwhile, we are his lieutenants, and we are communicating. And since yesterday, I think I've published 2 videos calling the people to remain quiet, to remain serene, for them to wait the directive that will be given by our leaders, who nowadays are incarnated by Mr. Ekane Anisse and Maurice Kamto. I think they are taking their normal time. They are consulting wise men who will help them make the statement that will be appropriate to the situation. But as I told you, Professor Kamto weights about 58% of the national electorate. So I think that what is expected from him will be to take a decision. And before taking the decision, I think if he intends to call to vote for a particular person, I think he must take the time to negotiate. Before calling the people now to adhere to a particular person, I think they must have reached a political arrangement, a political agreement for him now to make the statement that all his supporters will follow. So it cannot be made in a hurry. It must take some time.
This tells me again that you went to the Constitutional Council believing that the Constitutional Council was going to approve Professor Maurice Kamto's candidature. It looks like you trusted the Constitutional Council to do that.
No, we are optimistic. You see, we could not be pessimistic because we still believe that this question of plurality of investiture will be tried by the Constitutional Council as any normal court. Because when you have two people who are claiming to be presented by the same party, and the investiture is signed by two personalities, what is sure is that one of the two persons is a fake one.
Both could be fake.
Because the investiture that will bind the party is the one signed by the statutory representative of the party. So we believe that the Constitutional Council will look in the two files and determine who is the normal file that engages the party. And we will withdraw one and consider the other one. But at the end,
I think that
it confirmed that it was a political institution, and finally we were all disappointed.
That jurisprudence on the Manidem case actually says that at the next elections there would possibly be no election, because I could just appear there with a document signed that I am invested by the SDF, and then Elecam and the Constitutional Council will send both me and the candidate of the SDF home. That yes, decision lacks common sense.
No, it is nonsense. That's why I was saying that the Constitutional Council has become the most dangerous danger. Let me say it so. The most dangerous danger for our political stability in Cameroon, because it has opened a door where any person, any unknown person by a political party can come in order to disturb the candidature of this party, sign a document and say, I am presented by this party. So only by saying that there are two candidates from the same party, it will reject it. It is not in accordance even with the theory of human rights, because this right to participate in the election is a human right. And when it comes to human rights, in any situation of in any equivocal situation, the solution will be to permit the exercise of the human right. You see, not the rejection of all the candidates. So this jurisprudence is very, very dangerous. It is a cause of instability in the political parties, but it is in violation of the human rights theory, which is to promote the exercise, the exercise of the human right, not to frustrate the exercise of the human right. When it comes to political candidature, it is a human right provided by Section 25 of the International Covenant on the Civil and Political Rights. Section 25, it is clearly stated there that any person has the right to manage public affairs. And how can you manage public affairs if you don't compete for a presidential election? It is a human right, and according to the provisions of that Section 25 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, that right should be promoted. And according to that provision, the restriction of a human right will have a ground only in the law. But there is no law in Cameroon which provides that in case of multiple candidacy, the solution will be that all the candidature will be dismissed. There is no provision like that. So that's why we are saying that this position of the Constitutional Council is very dangerous, because it is a source of instability for the political parties, but also it is a great violation of Cameroonian rights to participate in the management of the public affairs.
At this point, how do you think that problem can be resolved?
But I think since it's a case law, there is no stable jurisprudence. I'm going to prepare many videos in order to inform, in order to sensitize the public, but also the members of the Constitutional Council on the illegitimacy of this position. It is a dangerous position, and I'm going to to make some I'm going to make some publications concerning that, for them to be aware of the dangerosity of their position, which is not compatible with law nor with the theory of human rights. It is completely inadmissible.
Are you assuming that they are unaware of the fact that this decision is not based in law or in human rights or in any text?
I'm going to do my job as a university lecturer. I'll do mine. And we are going to see there are other elections coming. Legislative elections are coming in March 2026. We are going to see what reception they will have given to these my videos. But I'm going to do my own job to explain them in simple words that this position is dangerous and they will be the cause of political instability in Cameroon if they continue in that way. Because there is no provision.
In 2018, in the post-electoral litigation, they authorized a live retransmission of proceedings. But in this pre-electoral litigation, they refused authorization to CRTV and any other person from doing a live broadcast. Why do you think they made that decision?
Yes, they even prevented a social media who was broadcasting the proceeding
TV.
On Naya TV to continue broadcasting it. I think because they had already prepared everything. All these signs show, even the militarization of Yaoundé. Because before entering the Congress Hall, policemen were everywhere. So these were signs that even though we were still optimistic, these were signs that something bad was already arranged. So they militarized the whole city. They prevented any media from broadcasting the debate in court. There were signs that something bad was being prepared, and it was confirmed. So that's why I'm telling you that we were not surprised, because there were many signs showing that the decision was already arranged. They had already reached a decision who will not be in favor of Maurice Kamto. But we have to do our own job. Okay, for the public, for the general public, for the international community to witness the situation of violation of human rights in Cameroon, the evidence that we are living in a very, very dangerous dictatorship in Cameroon.
So, talking about the militarization of the Constitutional Council and its environs on the day of the litigation, and then putting that in the perspective of what you say, the citizens taking back their country and their sovereignty from the dictatorship, don't you foresee a situation where the soldiers are definitely going to get back there handy to fight against any person who wants to in any way reclaim the sovereignty of the nation? Because they will term it, as they have termed it before, insurrection. 2018 is still in our minds, 2016 in our minds, 1992 is still in our minds.
No, I think the situation is still pending, just because the people is not sufficiently awake. You see, we think that with our campaign of sensitization, that is with the campaign of awareness, we are going to continue to help the people to understand that they are the real owners of the power. They are the one who normally own the state power. I think when most of them will understand that, when we're capable of mobilizing 10,000 persons in front of an army, I think there will be no way for them to shoot. I think the problem now is just a problem of mobilization. When the people will mobilize sufficiently, when we will have a mass of people sufficient in front of the army, I think there will be no way for them to shoot. And if the army itself sees that people are awake to fight for their rights, they will join the people. That's what's happened in every dictatorship.
Why don't you mobilize the army to understand that when we lack roads, they lack roads. When we lack hospitals, they lack hospitals. When we lack medication, when we lack school education and economy, they lack the education. Rather than focusing on the people, if you talk to the military, won't they have a conscience to understand with the population?
No, many of our contents are directed to the military because they are also one of the focus of our speech. We talk to them, and we know. I think what is their problem is just that they are not sure that if they join the people will not also deceive them. I think if the people wake up in sufficient number, I personally believe that the army may join the people because they are members of the people, and they are also they also get our awareness campaign. They live among people. They are not strangers from what Cameroonians are facing. If you see only what happens in the two regions of Northwest and Southwest, more than 500 military have already died from there. You do think that when those who are still on the field see how their friend has abandoned their wives, their children, and so on, they are not very happy. I think just I think when we reach a point where the opposition will be serious by the participation of people, we think that this revolution may take place. But we don't need to reach at that point. We still believe that before we reach the election in October 2025, there will be a way to reach a transition without any bloodshed, without any violence. We still believe that.
It looks to me that the rest of the
revolution will come only if all the Pacific ways are completely blocked.
It looks to me that all the other opposition, especially those whose candidatures were approved, have already moved forward. And MRC, Manidem, APC are the only people who are left behind. We saw a communique by Joshua Ossi today calling on everybody to come and join him to beat the dictatorship. And all other parties are moving forward. So are you not on your own in this case?
No, we are observers of our political scene. And we know that there are some political parties who are very egoistic. That is, we cannot count on them to fight this dictatorship. And amongst these parties, we have noticed the joy expressed by SDF leader and PCRN leader, notably Joshua Ossi and Cabral Libi. They have expressed joy after the rejection of Prof. Kamto's candidature by the Electoral Council of Elecam. So we are not surprised by their attitude.
Are you talking about their supporters, or you are talking about them? Because I have not seen a communique or an outing by Cabral Libi and Joshua Ossi celebrating.
No, they have not made an official outing, but they live with people. They live with people, and what they say, what they express is communicated. We are aware that Cabral Libi and Joshua Ossi were very happy after the rejection of Prof. Kamto's candidature. It is true that Mr. Leje on political media has taken the opposite side of Mr. Oshi, because he has contested the fact that Professor Kamto's candidacy was rejected. But he's only a militant, because the position of a party is the one held by the leader. So when we are informed of the attitude of Cabral Libi and Joshua Ossi, we know that it is the position of their party, notwithstanding the other position that any militant can have, which we would not be in line with what the leader said.
Now, Prof, please tell me what is going on between Professor Maurice Kamto, Bello Buba, and Issa Chiruma Bakari.
No, we know that there are contacts. There are contacts between these leaders. Not only between them, because we know that there are contacts between. You know that MRC was in a political platform with UDC, UMS. Even PCRN attended some of the meetings. But we know the position of Cabral Libi, so we cannot expect much from him. But we still believe that a coalition can be made with the participation of Kamto joining Isa Chiroma, Bello Bouba, Madame Damjoya, and maybe some other political parties. Joshua, it is sure that SDF and PCRN are going to accompany CRM, CPDM, even if they don't directly support Mr. Biya. Because
Prof,
we know the game.
That is a very strong allegation. You're putting a very strong allegation on opposition parties about accompanying the ruling party. Meanwhile, we know that these two parties are calling for change, are calling for support to replace the current government. Is that not a step too far?
No, those are words. They say that they are challenging the government in place, but those are only words. The fact they are in their facts, they are very dangerous for the opposition. Do you imagine that the director of cabinet of Mr. Cabral Libby, before even the conveying of the political corps, said that their opponent is not CRM, but is Kamto and MRC. The director of cabinet of Cabral Libby, he has said that in the media.
I do understand that, and I see that online. But to actually say that they are in bed with the CPDM is not a step too far.
No, I think it's just a matter of jealousy. Cabral Libby does not want Maurice Kamto to emerge as the leader of opposition. We know many facts that he has already posed. So we know the game is playing, and Mr. Oshi is also playing the same game. You see,
I would love to have them here to come and give some clarification on these issues, because it's good to have a civil conversation around the political issues that are going on in the country. But Prof, I wanted to hear from you. Present in the Constitutional Council yesterday and seeing Professor Maurice Kamto listen to the decision by Clement Atangana, what was his physical look when Atangana used the word non-fonde?
No, Prof. Kamto is a very... he's a mentally strong guy. Yeah, he was quiet. He was very. We say in French, il était serein. Huh?
Very peaceful, calm.
No, he was calm. He was peaceful, and he accepted the decision as it came. So without any noise, he took it as it came, and the media were waiting for him outside. I hope. He said some two words. He said, "I will invite you very soon to make a very detailed statement." That was he just said, but he was very calm. After all, I say those who follow the political scene of Cameroon were not surprised by this decision. When you see the militarization, you see the way everything was made. They prevented any broadcast of the debate. No, those were clear signs that everything was already arranged. So when he pronounced that decision, we just said, "Well, he's just confirming what we were expecting." So and be prepared because he knows all the behavior of the regime. So I don't think that he was surprised himself. I think that what he's working now is to put in place another strategy who will permit to continue the fight and to reach a transition, a peaceful transition, without any violence, without any bloodshed. I think that's what he's working for. And before giving any statement, I think he needs to contact some people to discuss with the 11 others who are still in the competition to make sure that they are not going to also disappoint the people. I think he's still a leader, and his words will still have a very heavy weight. His words are going to wait, and he should not pronounce himself in a very light manner. He needs to take time to analyze all the situation before saying any word to those who support him and who still believe in him, I think.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, because when I looked at the press release by the CRM, he is no longer a militant of the CRM, but when I saw the press release, it was very positive, calling people to be calm, to wait for an official statement on the way forward. Same for Manidem. And then
that's also what President Ekane and he said in the communique published by Manidem.
Yeah. And the CRM has also promised in the communique that they will start reimbursing the money of all those who contributed to support Professor Kamto's candidature and campaign, showing signs of accountability and signs of trust in the government. So, Prof, thank you very much for coming. Do you have any last words for our viewers?
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to share all these conversation with all our viewers and auditors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching the Beyond Africa podcast with me, your host, Ngali Bernard. As usual, we have Professor Moise Timcheng, who gives us all the necessary information we need. He was right there at the Constitutional Council. He heard the decision firsthand. He accompanied Professor Maurice Kamto throughout, and of course, they're disappointed, they've not lost hope, and they're thinking about the future, thinking about building more alliances. What is important is the transformation of Africa. If our leaders can actually come together to transform the continent, why shouldn't we support them? So this week, we are launching a new series that will come up every Sunday and every Wednesday. Wednesdays, we have interviews. On Sundays, we have panel conversations. So the first panel conversation is going to be on elections technology, how it should be managed, and the risk that we run with the national electoral list from the technical side. I promise you it's going to be very interesting because we're going to have somebody from UPC Manidem who is going to tell us what they have seen from their look of the website of Elecam about the registration of candidatures. Thank you so much and see you next time.